Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel. Thanks for logging on. If you enjoy these watches, do me a favor and subscribe to our channel right here at Watchbox Reviews. I'd really appreciate it, and then I'd be able to deliver my best to your inbox on a daily basis. And if you like our watches, you can see them and buy them on our website, thewatchbox.com. Buy, trade, and sell luxury watches on thewatchbox.com. Today we're talking about a face that you all recognize, a name that you all know, and perhaps the most sought version of the modern Rolex Daytona. It's a Rolex Oyster Perpetual Cosmograph Daytona 16518. That's right, yellow gold and Zenith powered. This is a watch that became a legend in its own time and is now entering the realm of collectible classics, even vintage, as the oldest of these watches are now 30 years old. The watch on my wrist is a N serial number, which, per the Rolex alphanumeric, dates it to about 1991. And the wonderful thing about the Daytona is more than any other contemporary catalog Rolex, it is timeless, rarely revised, to the point that planned obsolescence is simply not a thing. And this watch looks as though it could have been made at any point in the last 30 years. So on my wrist, 40 millimeters across the round of the case, an iconic case it is, not including crown guards, or chronograph pushers. It's a slim watch, 12.2 millimeters with a stepped sapphire and a conical bezel. It easily slips underneath a dress cuff. On a strap as opposed to a bracelet, the lug-to-lug measurement is true. The absolute dimension, 47.3 millimeters horizontally across the wrist, and the Daytona I found wears well on a wrist as small as 13.5 centimeters, especially when it's on a strap. For those of you who wish to accessorize, the lug spacing is 20 millimeters. Have at it. The clasp is substantial and in good condition. As you can see, an older style Rolex Daytona clasp. It is stamped, but it's wonderfully intact with all of its original finishing, character lines, creases, and definition. All of the original metal is still here, and time, as well as refinishers, have been merciful to this piece. As you can see, a number of strap tool incremental adjustments so you can fine-tune to your pleasing. And then finally, a handsome, flat, and nicely keyed color, as this is a light brown, large rectangular scale alligator leather strap, unbolstered so it's slim in profile with a contrasting stitch, calfskin on the underside with folded edges, a nice match for the watch, in character and in consonance. As you can see, the Daytona case is just plain sexy. It's not the super case, it never has been, it wasn't then, it isn't today. One of those elements that hasn't changed, the fluid, sinuous compound curves of the Daytona. And you can see how the light of my light box is playing across these case flanks. It's almost indecent. You can see that the end profiles of these special end links that Rolex assembles for the Daytona on the strap create a much more coherent look. There's really no daylight between case flank and strap. There's a lot of coherence about this design. You'll also note that the bezel is in outstanding condition. On the pre-ceramic bezel Daytonas, the wells for calibrations and numerals are all lacquer filled, which is to say, as these bezels wear down or get refinished, the lacquer tends to wear out, and you typically see fading or blank spots when these watches have been unsympathetically worn or refinished. The crispness of this one speaks to the overall condition of the watch. Now, let's get close because the watch is off the wrist, give ourselves a bit more light, focus in, and talk about this dial. No, it's not an abbreviated script, it's not a floating cosmograph, but it is fairly early in the scheme of things. As you can see, the original inverted 6 in the counter at 6 o'clock, and of course a tritium dial. There will be a lume shot at the end just to prove the point, but for the most part, what you're getting here is the combination of contrast and colors. Not all Daytonas feature the Arabic dominant array of numerals, and I like the look of the doubled up quarter Arabics, 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8, 10, 11. The appliques in gold with small amounts of black insert contrast beautifully and make for at-a-glance reading. The sub-registers are nicely countersunk with polished chapterings. I'll see if I can capture the polished gleam of the yellow gold about each of these registers. You can see a little bit at 3 o'clock, but the nuance and detail of this dial is superb. The color is handsome, yellow, black, white, and that famed shock of red. The nomenclature of the watch, named after the 24-hour Enduro at the International Speedway of the same name in Daytona Beach. Of course, the 5-point Rolex coronet at 12 o'clock, hand-applied. Hands in yellow gold. The watch features screw-down pushers, and when you thread them out, the watch does have 100-meter water resistance and a solid case back. The Zenith-based caliber 4030 is more mechanical than the later Rolex in-house 4130, which is to say, when you cycle the functions of the El Primero, you feel it. It's more mechanical. It puts you closer to the machine emotionally, and I enjoy that. Now, it doesn't feature hacking seconds, but it does feature the heart of the greatest chronograph caliber of all time. Having the Zenith El Primero inside, modified to Rolex standards, gives you the best of both worlds. The history of the El Primero, the first integrated automatic chronograph launched in 1969, and Rolex's refinements. Rolex revises the winding system to make it more durable. Rolex changes the balance to add an overcoil hairspring for resistance to gravitational or positional induced timing deviation. Rolex adds its microstella free-sprung balance with the microstella nuts rather than a mobile index used for fine adjustment of the timing. And of course, Rolex COSC certified all of these caliber 4030s. COSC certified Daytonas are quite rare. Of course, Rolex, because it wanted absolute durability, also changed the beat rate of the El Primero from 36,000 vibrations per hour to a more conventional 28.8 that could also be lubricated by garden variety watchmakers with garden variety lubricants. A tough movement, 31 joules, automatic winding with bidirectional action, 50-hour power reserve. This is the best, truly, of all. I love the Daytona on a strap. I can better appreciate yellow gold on a Daytona than any other Rolex. If I'm going to buy a Daytona in the year 2018, I want something rare and discontinued, and the Zenith is that. And if I want a contemporary Rolex that's also emerging vintage, how about the one that really hasn't changed in the last 30 years, with the look of a modern Rolex on the wrist, but the collectability of a piece approaching its third decade? This Zenith Daytona truly does it have all going on. This thing is the bomb. See it and make it yours on our website. And I am back with the Zenith-powered Rolex Daytona 16518 just to prove a point. This tritium dial is all original. See it by the light of day, which is to say, see it on the watch box.